Hello, Nicole here from ABT, and I've got sitting with me here Steve Morgan. He was the champion of our 2023 Rapala BASS Australian Open on the Clarence River just this weekend just gone. Steve, has the wind sunk in?
Yeah, as I was driving to work this morning, I was thinking that was pretty cool what happened on the weekend. Come to work, saw the check sitting there, and look, normally we do this interview straight after the event, but it was crapping down rain, pretty ordinary. I thought, let's do it in the luxury of the studio when we get back to the office. So, haven't won a bass event for 17 years. So, a bit of a long time between drinks in the bass front for me.
For sure. Now, a lot of people would have been following on your socials. They would have seen some highlights, some bit of media that you put out from the weekend. You're always running that camera, showing everyone what you're doing all the time.
Yep.
But talk us through a little bit more. We know you used Rapala products. You channeled that sponsor karma. Just talk us through how you made it work for you this weekend.
So this was the first bass event in a long time that I've actually gone pre-fishing for, and that means that's not just on the practice day before the event. It was a couple of weeks. It was before the pre-fish ban kicked in, and I've always loved the Esk River. I'd fished at the mouth of it a little bit. I've never fished right up it, but we caught some good estuary perch at the mouth before, and I'm familiar through the brim area, the brim arena that we fish, how shallow it is at the mouth. So the practice day was all about just making sure there were fish still in the Esk. I was pretty certain they were, but we had to make sure that they were there. But more importantly, working out whether we could get into the river or not, given the tides that we had on the weekend. Now, the mouth of the Esk is around 65 kilometres from Grafton, and there's no other bass around there. So it's that river or nothing. So if we went all the way to the mouth of the river and then couldn't get in, I've wasted half a session and a couple $100 in fuel to get it done. So on that practice day, caught some fish, worked out what I thought was going to be the pattern, and was confident that I could get in and out of the Esk. On the practice day itself, I didn't go in there. I just went and checked the McLean Reef and some of the other spots just to make sure that the big spawning bass hadn't moved in, because if they were at the reef, they're normally big fish there. I wouldn't have even gone. But it seemed to be pretty hard, the river. There was no real pattern to the fish. So I said, all right, I'm going to go. I'm going to do it, make the big run. It's about 80 kilometres to where I fish and then 80 kilometres back. So a 160 kilometre round trip. And it's like, I've always wanted to do a big trip. Let's do it this weekend. Now, I did all my sums and I worked out that I probably had enough fuel to get there. The Basscat Pantera Classic I've got has got a 120 litre tank, but I run a Mercury V8, 4.6 litre. So you think, it's going to use a fair bit of fuel. But the cool thing is that boat, when I run 97 to 98 k's an hour, I get 2 kilometres per litre. So that's a theoretical range of 240 kilometres just to do a 160 kilometre trip. But of course, I'm like, I haven't done it before. I'm going to take some spare fuel on the first day. As it worked out, didn't need it. Each day I only used 85 litres for that whole return trip. So 160 plus kilometres on 85 litres is epic fuel economy. And all the competitors were asking me, what did you use, 200 litres for the day? No, don't use that much. First day had an observer, Bob Hart, I think his name was, and we went to I was pretty sure there was going to be enough water, so I just went in the mouth, sort of not at full speed, but on the plane, and I reckon I hit 10 times going in through some of those sections. It was pretty hairy how shallow it was. Day two, I sort of walked it in. We got off the plane with Anthony Duff as my observer. We just sort of crawled in at the mouth because there was actually less water on day two. Went up the river on day one, did the big run, caught a few fish on top water, and then I started throwing a beetle spin around, because on the practice day, beetle spin was all they were eating. I couldn't catch them on anything else. They just wanted the beetle spin. I'd spent $100 on beetle spins and plastics. I've got the ultimate beetle spin kit now. For 2 hours, nothing ate a beetle spin at all. So I had one of these tied on. This is the Shad Wrap Elite that was in the angler kit. It's in a crawdad sort of colour. It's a new lure which has just come out from Rapala just now. It's 55 millimetres long and it's made for snag bashing. So channeling the sponsor karma, I put that on the 13 fishing. It's a Muse black rod, which is 6'8" light action, and the 13 fishing Concept TX reel. 20-pound braid and a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader. And I used that one lure all weekend. Didn't change the hooks, didn't really have to retire, just you put that in the hand and ended up using it all weekend as soon as we worked out that that's what they were eating. The way I worked out that's what they were eating was got tired of the beetle spins, pulled out the crankbait rod, first cast, 29 centimetre estuary perch. And that was telling me something. So from that point on, caught plenty of fish on the first day, maybe about 12 fish, which included a little transit over a log at the top to get into some unfished country. So as soon as I was watching the live scoreboards, I had enough service to get some catches out that day. I saw the scoreboard. I'm like, oh, I'm ahead, so I'm going to save a few fish for tomorrow. Left there an hour early and got out with no dramas. Come the second day, the fishing was a lot tougher. It was harder to get in down the mouth. I nearly didn't get in because the boat's alternately hitting the bottom, even trimmed up on my jack plate. It's just trimmed up to get there. And even that top log, man, there was only this much water on it. It was just got it up and over and got into some of that inaccessible country.
There's a great video that you put up too of you going over that log, just showing us exactly how hairy it was.
Yeah, so, but you know what, those bass boats, they're designed to do that sort of stuff. My boat's set up to do that stuff. The transducers are all tucked away up under the jack plate, and they're all in a situation where you can do things like that and not tear anything off your boat. And when I got above that log on the second day was when I caught the big fish. Now, the big fish, and you'll see it running here in the cutaways. It was just under 45 centimetres, that fish, and it tangled me up macrame'd inside this snag. And Duffman was filming, and I went in there to get it. We could see it down in there, but the line was going everywhere. I sort of put down the rod, grabbed the line, and went to sort of pull it out, and the fish just came out all the way and came up to the top, and I could just net it. And it was sort of a crazy bit of good luck. And when that happens, you know, oh, it might be my time to win a tournament, when the good things happen. Because, you know what, if I lose that fish, Mick Johnson catches one more fish and Mick's caught me. I know it looks like a big lead, that 1.2 kilo at the end, but literally it's only one fish going one way or the other that does it.
Yeah, funny you should say, because on that second day, you had a bit of phone service issue. It wasn't so great up the top of the Esk. And so you couldn't get your catches through. We had no idea if you'd caught one, you'd caught none, you'd had your bag. And so we were really lucky with Anthony Duff, your observer for the day.
He was on Telstra.
He was on Telstra and able to flick us through a text message every now and then, keep us updated. He actually shot us a video through of that 44.5 centimetre bass that we were able to use as part of our live coverage.
Yep.
And so everyone at home, like, we all knew, and we were able to let everyone know that you had your 5 in the bag. We weren't sure exactly what the sizes were, but we knew you had 5. But poor Mick Johnson was out there. He thought he'd absolutely just smash it and have the best day 2 comeback ever. But he had no idea because we couldn't get those scores onto the scoreboard.
So yeah, look, at the end of the day, the live scoreboard, like, I look at it, like, I like to know the tactics that I need. Like on day one, because I had a live scoreboard, I knew, I can back off them a little bit. Even if there's someone that couldn't get their catches through, I'm high enough up to want to conserve some fish. And I'm pretty lucky because on day 2, I didn't really catch any fish in places where I caught them on day 1. I think they're big resident fish that I'm catching, and then once you've caught them, they stay caught for a few weeks before recovering. The cool thing about the Shad Rapper lead is it turns out that this is the ultimate snag bashing lure. That's the same lure I used the whole tournament. Didn't lose it in the 2 days with that heavier leader. It's slightly positively buoyant and it has a square bill. I'm just going to, maybe I'll show it to you now what she looks like. It's got this sort of square bill on it and it's slightly positively buoyant. So I can throw that into the meanest possible snags. And it's not an exaggeration to say it was only like once a day I had to go and retrieve it from the snags. Slow roll into the snags, that square bill just keeps the lure from rolling over and those hooks from jumping into that bits of hardwood. So I could throw that into the nastiest possible country, and that's where the big bass were living. And with the heavier gear, it was actually, you know, for a brim guy. No, sorry, it was in light gear for a barra guy. It was easy enough to get the fish out of it. So I really believe sponsor karma is a thing. If you're not tying on one of the sponsor lures that they give you at the briefing, you're probably doing yourself a disservice. The other cool part about that was I think I was the only entry in the big fish. Like if you caught any fish on a Rapala, the biggest one each day wins a concept
Yeah, we had
series
2
reel.
of those to give away.
So 2 of them to give away, and just because I participated, ended up with these reels. So, you know, I'm building up my arsenal of the 13 fishing reels at the moment. I love supporting the sponsors. That was a great way to get a few more on deck now, and you have to buy the rods to go with them. The whole journey was like, it sort of makes you feel nervous each morning. Like it's like, oh, I've got a big run now. I'm not just going around the corner and hoping I'm the first in a spot. I'm doing a big run where the nearest competitor might be 50 kilometres away. And that's exciting, and I like excitement in tournament fishing.
Well, a huge achievement. You took the arena to the edge of its limits. You threw it all out there and it worked for you. I think just huge congratulations for the weekend.
I think it ticked one of my personal goals as well. I always wanted to win a brim, bass and barra event in a 12-month period. And this was sort of, this and maybe the next 2 Queensland qualifiers were the only chance that I had to do it. If I didn't do it now, I'd have to start all over again. Because I won a brim event last year on the Tweed and a barra event up at Kinchin. You carried me on that one. But yeah, a bass event now sort of ticks all the boxes. So rest of the bass season, I can fish nice and relaxed now. Don't have anything to prove anymore after 17 years. I still remember how to catch the suckers. And what a great way to launch that Shad Rap Elite. They only hit their warehouse the day before the briefing and already have won a tournament. So if you want one of those quiet balsa wood crankbaits that just have that no sound to them, the thing is that they're no rattles, no sound. That's what they look like in the box. They're a great little lure. That crawl pattern isn't their most popular colour. They do some chartreuses and some silvery looking ones that look fantastic. To be honest, I'm going to be throwing them at big brim as well because nothing comes out of a snag like that Shad Rap Elite.
I think too to note is you didn't go out to use this colour. We at the briefing, every observer comes in. We randomly have a pack. They had about half a dozen, 5 or 6 lures. Everyone got one. They were all just randomly allocated at the end. We're packing up, and you've gone, oh
Where's
no,
my pack?
Where's my pack? And so we had a couple left. We quickly just picked one out for you, and
that was the one.
It was the one.
So it was the one. So there you go. Sponsor karma's a thing. You got to channel that if you're a tournament angler, and awesome. Love won a bass and a brim open now. So happy days.
What's the last one to go?
You got to win us a bar open.
Watch this space.